So there is excellent science behind our technology and the performance of our technology. Our system is just globally better than certainly MIPS and most all of the other technologies that are out from some of the other manufacturers today. And I say most because there's one or two that are pretty effective, and they're good steps in the right direction. All of our testing indicates we're still pretty far out in front of everybody from a performance standpoint, and the system, is unique and effective. The educating the market has been the most challenging thing for us. Looking back and trying to define our message, how to simplify all of the statements. When you start talking about rotational acceleration and brick and hick and low energy threshold, what's that mean? That's a phrase that we coined here at 6D. When you start talking about these things in the realm of helmets, dealers have never heard that before. Consumers certainly haven't heard it before. So it was really important that the education aspect of our technology got out and got in front of the dealer and the consumer. And I remember early on listening to, we were just flooded with phone inquiries and interest in the very, very beginning. Everybody wanted to know about our system, how it worked, what it cost, blah, blah, blah. And I remember listening to Scott, my first employee, on the phone one morning, and I'm going, Scott, you've got to capsulize your message, man. You're taking 15 minutes just to say one thing about what it's doing. And, I can hear the guys, eyes glossing over, and I'm in the other room on the phone, So I said, we've got to tighten that up and do a better job. And so I think over the years, we've tried to just simplify it and make it more understandable for the layman. And that's why the suspension for your head tagline is, just kind of been so good for us. It just connects to our customer. Our customer understands suspension. Their bike has suspension. Their motorcycle has suspension. They get it. So, that was a big deal. And I think if I had to do it all over again, I go back to 2011 when I'm in my garage fabricating, helmets together and taking them down to Terry's to test them to see, how they work. And, Robert and I are crushing EPS, and we're, finding out where materials are yielding and how they're yielding and, which materials are doing what. We're studying all that in the garage, like, you always hear about that crazy startup, well, that was us. But, what we learned through the whole thing, simplifying it down so that somebody could understand it. We started talking about low energy threshold. That's what I mentioned previously. That's where our helmet's really effective, because the suspension system's allowing it to absorb and manage energy before the EPS is having to start yield, under loading. And once that EPS starts to yield, it's pretty linear, and it compresses at a pretty even rate until it's, done its work and is done with the impact. So what we basically did is our system works over a broader range, so it's working before other helmets are working. And then also we had this rotational component, which is what we set out to do, was scrub off some of this rotational acceleration, which the medical community had determined through scientific study that was really at the root of concussion, brain injury, and worse, was these high shearing loads of the rotational acceleration that happens in an impact. So almost none, almost no impacts are just, perfect 90 degree to the center of mass of the head form. It's always at some, or most always at some off angle tangent to that. And even direct linear impacts like that have been proven in the laboratory to also incite rotation. So it was this rotational element that we were trying to get our arms around and do a better job of scrubbing that off. So if the shell hits an item or the ground and starts to rotate, we've got a delay on the inside liner where it's scrubbing some of that off. We're taking some of that energy or some of that jerk, some of that immediate change of acceleration out of the equation, so the transfer to the human's not so gnarly, not so severe.